This is Maundy Thursday, and many of us will be going to churches tonight to start celebrating what's known as the Easter Triduum, um, 3 days before Easter, which includes Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and Vigil on Saturday before we get to celebrate Easter Sunday. Maundy Thursday is often a tradition that's lost on most Protestant churches or low church traditions. Low church meaning those who don't have all the bells and whistles that maybe the Catholics or the Anglicans or the Lutherans have. Um, and we have tried to replace it with a few things over the years, but there's nothing quite as profound as a Maundy Thursday service. You might encounter foot washing, a story that comes out of the Gospel of John. You might encounter a stripping of the chapel, which is an incredibly moving ceremony where the congregation stays put and various volunteers just take out all of the decoration or cover it up with purple cloth. It's the day when we realize the depth of what's going to happen. Yesterday, we looked at Judas, and when Judas realized what he had helped set in motion, he was so devastated he took his own life. Today is our turn to kind of sit there and realize the extent of what this means. Jesus begins having a meal with his followers. Now, the meal is mentioned to be the Passover feast or the Feast of the Unleavened Bread, not to be confused with the modern Jewish Seder. And that's one thing that Christians have to stop doing, is pretending we're doing Seders when we're doing Maundy Thursday. The Jewish community has said, stop taking our stuff. And they rightly have that, can say that to us. We don't need other people's experiences. We have our own. And Jesus never would have experienced the modern Seder as we see it today. So pretending it's something historically Jesus did is just wrong. But he did have a meal with his friends. We know it's Passover to help us understand what time of year it was. There's no connection beyond that. And he picks up the bread and he picks up the wine and he breaks the bread, shares the cup, and says, "This is my body and this is my blood," which for a first century Hebrew person would have been a shock because cannibalism was not acceptable at all. But here we have Jesus putting a metaphor on something very simple that everybody had access to. And that's one of the wonderful things, the beautiful things about the Lord's Supper is that bread and wine were at everyone's table. It didn't matter how poor they were. They could all participate. And that is such a big part of this story of Jesus, how everybody can participate. From there, we move into a few of his disciples, the same ones that went on the hill with him during Transfiguration. He asks to come up to Golgotha as he goes and prays. And understandably, he says, God, take this burden from me. I do not want to do this. Jesus' human part did not want to be part of this. And who's to blame him? He knew what was happening. He knew what he was setting up. He knew what was going on. And he did not want to go through the pain of that. But while he's there with his disciples, in that prayer, they fall asleep. That falling asleep is a message that they did not understand the depths of despair that Jesus was going through. 3 times they do it. And they do not understand. They're not there with Jesus. I was listening today, and many of you will hear it tonight and hopefully be singing it tonight. The Taze, stay with me, remain here with me, watch and pray. Watch and pray. We've been talking this week about making this story personal, and it's this moment, I think, that is the most accessible for us to make this personal, how the story of Jesus, the agony and the pain, being in that hill, knowing, anticipation is almost worse than experiencing, knowing what was coming. And his friends don't, and they just fall asleep and they let him be. But we know the story, we know the outcome, and we know the experience. So we are asked also to go with Jesus, to remain with Jesus, to pray, to wait, and be part of that. That is how this entire experience can be made personal for us. How can we sit with the quiet and the disquiet of this point in the story before we rush on to the busyness of whatever comes next? Sit with Jesus on Maundy Thursday. Come with me. Remain here with me. Watch and pray. Watch and pray. Make it personal. Make it meaningful. Have some opportunities to just dig down and wonder what you would have done on that hill. How you can be witness to what Jesus is doing. This is not an atonement kind of thing. This is not dying for our sins kind of thing. This is Jesus facing political execution for living a life of integrity and not shying away from his calling. How do we, as followers, sit with Jesus and watch and pray?